He said, "Do not feed
bad
your
parent.
infants."
And then it was like everybody was afraid of bees, and I'd be in the back.
Just playing with them.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
then came out to Pasadena and had bees there. And
We had
then
10 hives in the back.
And then they sold the nursery behind us, so we had to move that out. And then a couple years ago, we got a swarm landed in
The
fig
fig
tree in the front yard, and we captured that on video. And we were back in the bee business, and we had 7 or 10 hives on the property at one point. And then, unfortunately, when Dad died, because I couldn't manage it, I took it to a friend's place out they're currently in Acton, so I have 6 or 8 hives out there. So we work with a couple of local people that supply us with honey because we can't currently supply our own at this time.
Right. But it's all local.
It's a local,
we know the people.
Local, raw, unheated. It's not currently our honey. I would like to get there. I'm trying to get to it.
Yeah, well, after Dad passed away, we knew we couldn't manage it, so we just built up the business, and then we'll bring that back in.
Because people don't understand that taking care of hives is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and then now with Africanized bees, and
you have to be careful.
You have to be careful, and if you don't, just like with any feral pets or feral dogs or cats, they can be aggressive. So because of our circumstances, we just removed all the bees from the property
until we got on our feet again.
Yeah. So we have a farm in Riverside that wants to take some of our beehives, and then they're currently in Acton. So
you might move them this month, maybe.
They're in the cherry groves. We took them up to the cherry groves. So we have about 6 or 8 hives there. So.
But the people we work with, we know them personally. Everybody we work with, we have to get to know them, and like friends and family. And we invite them over to events or parties, and so it's like we know these people.
So we've had to work. We had to go through a tough spell with the drought, and then the CCD, the colony collapse disorder. There was less honey available because there was no rain, so we had to go. We used to have locally, and then we had to go farther north because it was wetter up there. So sometimes it's mostly from Ventura County because it's a little bit more wetter up there.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of the beehives from down. I know we're getting off subject. We're talking about bees, but I find them fascinating. I know a lot of them were. They were like this Russian gang up in like Stockton in that area where the almonds are at.
Yes.
They were stealing other people's bees.
Our friends, he got stolen.
Last year, the friend where
where the bees are, Justin's could be stolen. No.
Wanted poster for mine. Lost their phone.
I'm sure they're in Acton still.
No, they're not.
They haven't come back yet, so we'll stay tuned to see if they're...
well, the bees and honey are very valuable.
I believe he lost 40 hives.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
They just took them on a pallet and they were gone.
Right.
He just said I was like, really? Yep. They just backed up and I guess they figured out a pallet or who knew that was hot property up there?
Yeah.
The black market for bees was
hot honey.
Hot honey.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Oh, whoa. Okay, hold on.
Hey, this is a family program. Here we go.
We have raw honey, not hot honey.
Okay.
We don't heat it over a certain...
We don't heat up the honey.
All right. Yeah, there we go. Now, beyond honey. Okay. Now, how do you, everybody knows fruits and vegetables are seasonal. Mm-hmm. Yep. What do you choose? Do you choose what your consumers want the most, or is it sometimes you just, we want to do this right now? How do you make those choices?
Well, unfortunately, because we're in business, we can't grow what we want. So.
Right. Do what you want?
No, we can't do what you want. So the irony is some things that we grew 10 years ago and we couldn't sell, we can now grow and sell. So it depends on what's in vogue, what's in season, what's fashionable, like the edible flowers. So... our salad mix takes priority because it's $16 a pound, so it's $1 an ounce. Nice. Seasonal stuff, we do try to do the heirloom or artisan tomatoes. We've had a rough couple of years with spider mites and stuff like that. So unfortunately, we can't experiment like as much as we'd like. The salad mix in one point can have like 24, 36 different varieties of
mesclun mix. Okay. But the salad mix is seasonal. It's we're not going to sell tomatoes in December.
Right.
We just not going to do that. So it is our farm box program goes through a season. Mm-hmm. So it'll change. And even though people might want tomatoes, we're not going to get them
because
tomatoes.
It's not seasonal.
Mm-hmm. So we try to keep it still seasonal.
Yeah, so we can have salad for about 8 to 10 months, about a year, and about 3 months out of the year it gets too hot and things. So we do have educating people on seasonal produce is a bit tricky. We did have a customer that showed up or wanted watermelons or something in January.
Right.
And I said, nope.
And what was her response? But they're in the store.
They're in the store.
Right.
And it's like, check it out. They're probably from the south of the equator, the other side of the world.
And she came back.
And she admitted that they were.
They weren't as tasty, and they're kind of old by the time that they get here.
Yeah, so I mean, we enjoy when the tomatoes come in. It's lots of tomatoes, and the squash comes in. There's lots of squash now. We work with a couple other farms to bring in stuff that we can't grow, like carrots. It's just not profitable for us to because to grow things versus picking it several different times. Salad mix can be cut and coming in. Carrots are just not profitable, so we support a local farm with that. So seasonal is tricky, and people want tomatoes year round. Unfortunately, California is a great growing season, but there are seasonal things, and we have to educate people on that.
We do make conscious. If we do choose what we want to grow, it's always GMO-free seeds. We won't do the ones that have been hybridized and kind of modified in some way, and then we.
So you're not buying any Monsanto?
No, there's no Monsanto crops out there. And just we do. I would say we often do like exotic things. I would, we if we can't produce the quantity of something, we have quality and things that you can't often find in stores. So like we grow this really long, wonderful squash. I'm not a big fan of zucchini as a farmer. I'll admit I don't really care for zucchini. Yeah. But there's this really long squash called a tremosino.
Okay.
And it can grow up to 8 feet long.
Jesus.
And in the green stage, it tastes like zucchini, but far better. It's not as watery and mushy. You can do so much with it. I'll eat
a lot of things
zucchini.
Taste better than zucchini.
I'll eat this squash, and then as you let it grow, it turns yellow, and then you can eat it like a pumpkin. And people don't know how to do with this because if you go into a supermarket, they can't sell it. They can't package this and ship it. So we'll grow things that are not found in
grocery stores.
In grocery stores. Okay. We're not doing convenience. We're doing quality and
heirlooms.
Yeah, we won't grow zucchini because there's plenty of people doing that. So we grow Italian heirloom squash called Tremosino, which does double duty. So we can sell it green. We can sell the squash blossoms, we can sell, and it's a vine, so it grows over our pathways, and we can walk underneath it. And nice. Makes very interesting photos and stuff like that. So we grow things like one story we have about the peas and pea shoots. We grew peas to sell the pea pods, and what we ended up being is growing pea shoots. So we didn't grow enough pea pods, so we sell pea shoots, and that's just after so many years, it's just trial and error and what your customers like and want. So it's novelty things like sorrel. Talking to a customer today, and she was from Europe, and she said she makes this syrup or soup, and she brings it to her mom, and it's very hard to find. So we grow sorrel now. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of subscribers, and only a few know what to do with it because it is a tangy, lemony, citrusy thing. Salad mix.
Right.
We put it on our salad mix.
Isn't sorrel popular in the southern United States?
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people here just don't. They're not getting down. No. So I don't even think they know what it is. No.
So then the other thing is we have red vein sorrel, which is also known as under various names, Hearts of Fire, Rumex. The irony is that we can sell that as a garnish. So
the catering companies will buy boxes of that to put on their platters.
Right.
Yeah, so it depends on what. We just do the novelty things. So we have different kinds of mustards, and like broccolini. And another popular thing is our saute mix, which is instead of people buying one bunch of Swiss chard, one bunch of kale, and one bunch of mustard, we put a little bit of everything in one bunch. So we call it a saute mix. And instead of buying 3 different bunches, it's beautiful. I mean, it looks like a wedding bouquet, and put a little bit of edible flowers, some flowering mustard or Hansai Thai or something like that.
Sounds good.
It was like one bunch, a mix of greens. So that was one of our best sellers too. So like salad mix, saute mix.
Yeah, and the cafe that I work at is going to feature it too with their stuff. So.
Awesome. You want to give a shout out to your cafe?
This is a cafe in Montrose. So
okay.
There was Rest Farmhouse. So I work there, and then they're using a lot of our produce. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we did have to do some other jobs to make ends meet sometime to help.
It happens. It happens. It's funny you say that. I went to Leavenworth, Kansas. I wasn't a prisoner. Okay. I was in the military.
If you say so.
And hey. Outside of the base, like all the guys because there are 5 prisons in the city. There's a military base and 4 of them. All the guards had farms. So they worked their farms when they could, and then like at night they would like be a guard at the prison or whatever it is, because it was the same thing where they couldn't make ends meet, just working the farm itself, and they had so much competition from each other, that kind of thing. But
I mean, we've been in business long enough that we've had to adapt or die and stuff like that. It is tricky. You have crop failures. You have issues with the weather. Everything is outdoors, so I feel sorry for every farmer out there because it is a tough thing. But I love what I do, and we all love what they do. Unfortunately, you have to economic wise.
You have to diversify.
And you have to diversify.
The skills.
We don't.
Right.
We are self-sufficient in that we eat what we grow, but then we sell. So it's, directly, but indirectly. But then we also do we call secondary products. I make jam and we teach. So we give workshops at the homestead. So in classes we have farm dinners and events. So you have to diversify because you can't just because a lot of things, especially farming, depends on the weather. If it's a sucky year, it's a sucky year.
Right. Prices are not 99 cents. People have to realize that if you believe in something, you have to pay for it. Sometimes you can't compete with the big industrial stores. But
I was telling Justin when we were talking in the lobby, my grandfather. I was raised by my grandfather in his house, and he was a farmer. He grew up on a farm, 7, 8 brothers and sisters, whole 9 yards in Ohio. Wow! And he used to tell me about how he stayed on the farm to try to save it, during the 1920s. And they ultimately ended up losing it because of the Depression. Yeah. But until I think he was about 20, I think, when he finally moved out here to California and was drafted. But they he used to tell me they used to grow tomatoes, onions, and potatoes was their big crop back then. But they had acres and acres of that kind of thing. And they used to have to get up early in the morning. Yes. He had to get up at 4 a.m. to slop the hogs.
Justin's
I was up at 4 o'clock this morning.
Right. And then he'd have to do that and go to school and all that kind of stuff. And then come back home and then feed the animals in the evening and do whatever work was done before the sun went down, that kind of thing. Now, what is an average day for you? What do you have the same kind of routine? Do you have to get up early to get these things done?
I mean, I have my same morning routine.
It depends on what day it is.
But the chickens have to be let out every morning, so I pretty much have the same.
Oh, they'll let you know.
They'll let me know. So it's wake up before the sun rises, and then open and let the chickens and ducks out. Give them fresh water, fresh food, check on everything, and then make breakfast.
Yeah, and then with the farm boxes, one reason why we did that, focus on that, is basically it's 2 days a week. That we Wednesday and Thursday. We have a country club that orders once or twice a week, Wednesday and Friday. So there's some routines. I have a little bit of free time. Define free time.
Same with air quotes.
Free time on Sunday, Monday, and then come Tuesday I start prepping for the farm boxes, laying everything out, printing up the labels and stuff like that. Right. And then come Wednesday and Thursday, it's basically, let's say 24 hours, but it's a long day for that. And we had this past week was 96 degrees on Monday, so I was out there watering, trying to get everything ready, and because we're sort of in between seasons, trying to transfer the garden over.
So now, what are you transferring it to? What are you taking out and putting in?
We took out some lettuce that it was a little leggy. So we planted. I planted first cucumbers. Unfortunately, a little long story short, but I planted tomatoes and cucumbers about a month ago, and then we got really cold, and some of them I lost them to the freeze at the end of March. First of March. We had a late freeze, so it set me back about a month. So I was ready to turn the whole yard over in tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, and peppers. And so I was prepping everything going, then this cold snap came, and I was like, crap, that's a little jump the gun there. So about a month later, it turned 96 degrees, so I figured winter's over.
Right.
That's it, we're done. So we're transferring to the tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers,
Basil.
and basil's popular
Okay.
and stuff like that. So we still have the salad mix because that's our we're going to go about to July 4th with the salad mix and the flowers, and then transfer to